Star Wars Outlaws doesn't even have a release date yet, but some of its new features already make it look better than Star Wars Jedi. Survivor. Both of the Star Wars Jedi games are great, but the upcoming Star Wars Outlaws is poised to dethrone them. Star Wars Jedi. Fallen Order and its sequel Survivor wowed players by applying the Souls-like formula to a Star Wars setting, with challenging, lightsaber-based boss battles, a variety of secret-laden worlds to explore, and an engaging storyline. Jedi. Survivor proved one of the best Star Wars games in recent memory. However, the newly announced Star Wars Outlaws could change that. Announced at the 2023 Xbox Games Showcase, it's being developed by Ubisoft for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. While it doesn't even have a set release date yet, early details look incredibly promising. It appears to take the long-running Star Wars video game adaptation tradition in some interesting new directions, while also incorporating some aspects of what has made past titles a success. If it combines all of these disparate parts into a cohesive whole, Star Wars Outlaws could easily become a better game than Jedi. Survivor. Number 1. Kay's Speeder. The vehicle sequences in Star Wars Jedi, Fallen Order, and Survivor are some of their respective games' high points, but they're disappointingly brief. In general, vehicles have limited uses in the Star Wars Jedi games, which is a shame considering how much fun they are. Star Wars Outlaws, however, takes a different approach. Kay will have a dedicated motorcycle, like Land Speeder, that she'll presumably haul with her from planet to planet, whether drifting through the back alleys of a seedy burg or zipping across miles of empty desert. Kay's Speeder should be a handy and delightful tool for players to use. Plus, it just happens to look really cool. Number 2. Space combat. A feature central to many Star Wars video game adaptations is that of space combat. These epic, heart-pounding dogfights not only make for stunning set pieces, they can also be thrilling and challenging for the player. Unfortunately, the player doesn't do any spaceship piloting, let alone fighting, in Star Wars Jedi. Survivor. Star Wars Outlaws, however, will feature space combat centered around Kay's signature ship, the Trailblazer. While it probably won't rival more in-depth Star Wars dogfighting experiences like Squadrons, even a relatively simple space combat system can add a whole new dimension to Star Wars Outlaws. Number 3. More populated cities. Jedi. Survivor had beautifully designed environments, surpassing Fallen Order in terms of their scale and branching paths. However, much of the game still takes place in barren ruins on mostly forgotten planets. At times, it just feels empty. By entering the world of the smuggler, Star Wars Outlaws has potential to include more big, populated cities. A couple of them are already visible in the announcement trailer. Larger cities are also necessary because of Outlaws' open-world format. Kay will need somewhere to find work, upgrade her equipment, and spend her ill-gotten gains. Populated cities could go a long way toward making the galaxy feel less empty in Star Wars Outlaws. Number 4. Stealth Jedi. Survivor didn't have a stealth system, although it did reward players for surprise attacks. Cal frequently finds himself sneaking around groups of stormtroopers, so some kind of stealth stance would make sense. Stealth equally makes sense in Star Wars Outlaws, in which Kay will likely often need to travel the path of least resistance to steal someone's valuables or avoid hostile guards. Outlaws will include a stealth mechanic. It'll probably borrow from Ubisoft's classic Assassin's Creed crouch to sneak formula. This gives players more options in dealing with enemies, allowing them to completely avoid combat when it gives them an advantage. Some kind of damage. Boosted stealth strike could also be useful. Number 5. Player freedom. There's a little bit of freedom to Star Wars Jedi Survivor, but the game is essentially linear. Players have some choice in terms of which planets they want to visit first, but there's only a handful of them, and new ones only become available at certain points in the story. Exploration mostly takes place along predetermined paths. Star Wars Outlaws, however, could be much more open-ended. It's been advertised as the first true open-world Star Wars game, meaning that players will probably be able to travel wherever in the galaxy they want, whenever they want. It's an ambitious concept, and if executed right, will make Outlaws extremely immersive. No matter how it ranks compared to Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Star Wars Outlaws has a lot of potential. However, its release date is still far in the future. Plenty can happen between now and then. While it has a more than decent record when it comes to spectacular, ambitious open-world RPGs, Ubisoft has also had its fair share of flops and broken releases. Its announcement trailer for Star Wars Outlaws has already created tons of hype. Now all it has to do is live up to it. If you really enjoyed this video, then don't go anywhere without subscribing to the channel. And like the video, it helps me out a ton.